I was moved by your love letter to Portugal
Oh, right, yeah.
that I read on Facebook, and really wanted to share that. I felt, well, first of all, it resonated with me. I thought it would resonate with, pretty much anyone who is here in a committed relationship with Portugal, which then
I've never heard it put
reminded
like that.
me, yes, it reminded me of one of the episodes you and I did. And so I looked it up. Unfortunately, I have mine archived numerically and by date, so I can find them more easily than on YouTube. And it was when I brought the notion of 8 stages of relationship.
Oh, yes.
You remember that conversation?
Yeah, I do.
So I wanted to revisit that just to see, what did we say then that was relevant to what you were writing about. And I found it amazingly parallel. I mean, it wasn't it wasn't the same concept per se, but the whole notion of relationship and the developing of the relationship and what do you want in a relationship was all there. And I just thought, well, that's interesting. So I thought I might just kind of review this, maybe just label the 8 stages, because it took a long time to get through the whole thing last time, but we had a whole hour that time. So so I brought it. I brought it to the screen somewhere here so that I can remember just labeling the 8 stages of relationship as I came up with them. This is not some researched, highly proven scientific process. This is me
I'm
going.
sorry, I can't allow it in the courtroom in that case.
Yeah. I'll have to save that for YouTube. I mean, for Facebook then.
Yes.
But they were ideas about relationship. How does a relationship develop that I thought of and came up with based on my experience and whatever I have read, that made sense when you relate it to what is this thing of moving to Portugal. So the first phase, not surprisingly, was infatuation. The infatuation phase of relationship, where no one can do any wrong. It's just all beautiful and sunshiny, sparkles and stars all the time sort of feeling. And then that at some point fades into or moves into the next phase. I'm thinking it takes probably 9 months to a year to get to the next one, which is I called assimilation, which was starting to actually get familiar with the real each other, sort of beyond the veil of the stars and twinkles. Here's this other layer of us and our relationship. Then it moved for the stage 3 into consideration, which is if you haven't already made the decision in infatuation, which many people do, they get infatuated. I'm here forever. And some of those people get disappointed and end up leaving. But if you get to a more mindful place with this whole process of becoming a part of this new place or this new relationship, the consideration is starting to look at the future. What do I want from this experience? Am I likely to get what I want? How might I go about that? All of that is part of the process. Then there's the stage 4, I'm calling modification and negotiation, which is making the adjustments that I need to make in order to have it work, and trying to work out what can I change, what can't I change if I want it to work. Can I do those things in order to have it work for me? And a lot of this is what your article made me think of it, is there is work involved in developing a relationship, human relationship, or relationship with a new home, Portugal. And that's what your article was talking about, was the deepness, the dedication of what do I want to bring to this relationship? What kind of relationship do I want to have here? And for many of us, I'd say most, it is a loving relationship that we're developing.
Yeah.
Once we get through that modification and negotiation process, and we move into the fifth phase, which is declaration, which is making it sort of official. Yes, I'm going to be here. I've looked at it. I've negotiated with it. I've been in love with it. I don't see any reason that I can't make this work. So I'm declaring. And many of us come with the idea we're going to be residents anyway. But even in my case, not knowing, I mean, I was fairly certain this was going to be my place. But I said, worst case scenario, I stay for 5 years, get my permanent residency, and then I'm free to move around Europe anywhere I want. So I don't have to be committed long-term to Portugal, but I can put in 5 years and dedicate myself to that and see what develops in that process. So that's sort of following that declaration process. Then we move into the sixth phase, which is preparation for the future. We said, all right, I'm going to be here now. What do I need to do? What do I need to take care of? And again, a lot of these overlap from the very beginning for many of us who were pretty dedicated to being here in the first place. But if you're brand new, you just stepped into the country and you've never really considered Portugal as a place, you're considering, wanting to be in a new place. Then
that's like being on a dating site rather than choosing the partner, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. And that's the very beginning. That's where infatuation happens. You meet that person, oftentimes unexpectedly, and you go, whoa, and the lights go on and all the music starts playing. Hallelujah, all that good stuff. So this is probably more consistent with someone who hasn't really decided that I really want to be in Portugal. It's more like, ooh, I've never been here before. I kind of like it. And then it goes from, I love it. It's beautiful. This is a place I want to be forever. That kind of thing. And then move through the phases. For those of us who have been more dedicated to that decision earlier on, some of this has happened before we got here. It's not quite as systematic as I laid it out here. So finally, in the seventh stage, as I laid it down, is commitment. That's and to me, commitment is a huge word, because commitment says, I mean, that's really kind of like the no shit decision there. I'm committed. Committed means I'm not gonna.
Doors closing behind me.
Yeah, I'm not backing out. If I'm going to leave, I have to make the decision, turn around and go. I'm not going to sneak out of this at this point. I'm committed to being here. And that includes doing the work to making it work, right? That's where commitment, it makes a difference. This is often in human relationships where relationships fail. There's a lack of commitment. It's too hard, I give up. That's not to say you can be fully committed and just work your ass off to make a relationship work and it still doesn't work. That's going to happen. But the commitment is the willingness to do the work no matter what. And that is where many of the people who have decided to leave, I believe that's where they make that decision. They said, no, I can't commit to this. This is not working for me. And then ultimately the final phase of that would be evolution, which is being committed to being here, doing the work still. And the love doesn't fade. It just gets deeper and deeper and deeper. I have to say that, because in the presentation, I'm really, this starts to sound like a lot of work and no fun. No, it's the whole reason you're doing the work is because you're in love. You love it. I want to do this. I want to bring more of myself. I want to, all these things I want to do because I'm so deeply, deeply in love. And so the final place is evolution, where now that we're in this place, how do we evolve together? And this again goes back to your love letter. How do we, the immigrants, in combination with the country and culture and people of Portugal, integrate in a way that we can evolve in a loving, growing, loving way? And I just thought, I have always loved this idea of romantic relationship with the process of moving into a new country.
Yeah, and you've nailed it right there. It took us an
appreciate
hour last time. I think maybe even took us 2 shows last time, didn't it? And there we've just condensed it into an easier guide to the 8
Yeah,
steps.
and I can, let's see, because I do have it. What did I do with it now? I actually have the date on it, so I may have just closed it out
Well, that'll be a
accidentally.
nice. I'm going to make a nice segment of that, and that is the article that James is referring to. My Dear Portugal love letter. One of my favourite bits of it was saying that it's not a Dear João letter at the beginning, and it's all about having the talk. And it's really great what you're saying about the evolution, because once you've kind of closed the door behind you, like on an aeroplane, that clunk on an aeroplane is a bit like the moment in a great relationship, isn't it? Where okay, we're fastening our
We're in
seatbelts.
the air. We're not going anywhere, at least for a while.
Yeah, that's right. And that, to think of that in relationship to a country as well is wonderful. And it connects with our other theme this morning, which is, of course, learning the language, which a lot of us put off. And that might be as well. I mean, relationship metaphors are brilliant, aren't they? And you must love seeing these as a therapist and working with people, because everything's about relationship in a way, really, isn't it? If it's not with other people or things, it's with ourselves. And language, the great subject of love languages. And then also in the evolution of relationship, the things we put off, the things we know we should be doing, but don't do. And learning the language here, that might be a part of the relationship with Portugal, which is like, I know I should get better at learning the love language of my partner, or even just the language of my partner, but I'm not, I'm slipping, and each year comes and goes, and nothing really happens. So we were a little bit of a reminder this morning on how to, if you want to take it from that this analogy point of view, metaphor of a relationship, we can. What is the love language of Portugal? What language does she speak, and how do we speak to her? But also more prosaically, practically, what are your 3 top tips? They've already started coming in, the 3 top tips for learning the language for anyone who needs a nudge in that direction. Pam's responding, James, to your words this morning. In terms of James's relationship analogy, if you don't commit to learning the language, you will be a passive partner in your relationship with Portugal. She's not cutting us any slack whatsoever.
Well, imagine being in a romantic relationship with someone you can't speak to and you don't understand. Like, how does that work?
Just thinking if I've ever done that. Yeah, that wasn't so bad.